generate questions to deepen your understanding of the text. We've been working on it pretty much for the last 6 weeks. We've been talking about the different types of questions when we've been using your Big Journeys textbook. And so now we're kind of delving in a little deeper and going to our own books and trying to generate questions. Not only generate them, what does generate mean? Anybody? To create, to make questions, but then you're also having to answer those questions too. Sometimes it might be easier to make a question, but then we have to go answer it. What do we need to include in our answer with some of the types of questions?
The part of the question was what is
So you're talking about restating within the answer, yes? But there's something else I'm looking for too. What do we need to do?
Text evidence.
We have to have evidence because remember we're book detectives, and book detectives have to go back into the text and find evidence. You can't just state the answer, you have to tell how it is the correct answer, so you have to give evidence. So if we look at our 3 types, remember we've gone over within the text questions, beyond the text questions, and about the text questions. And remember, when you think about within the text questions, those are those questions that are right there in the book for you. Those are the really easy ones to find. We just have to be willing to find them. Sometimes they're real short answers like yes and no. Sometimes the answers are just right in the text for you. But when we move down to beyond the text and about the text, those are similar because those are our ones where we have to think and search for the answer. They're harder answers to find. And there's many answers. So remember, like if Jackson and Anna were working on the same question that was beyond the text and about the text question, they could come up with a different answer. And it would be correct as long as they showed their evidence. So you have to have evidence. And page numbers. I'm really big on page numbers, so I know where you found the evidence. Okay, so then we also took that a little step further. Okay? So we categorize those and we said there's 2 types of questions. There's thin questions and there's thick questions. Really just another way to look at the 3 different types. Thin questions were those really little ones within the text questions. So, and then sometimes they're thick questions. Those are your beyond and about the text questions. Okay? And you should have received a question stem sheet that looks like this. And on this question stem sheet, it has thinking within the text examples, thinking beyond the text, and thinking about the text, okay? Then you also should have received this one, the thin and thick, and it gives you thinking stems so that you can use these with your weekly reading log. Okay, so if you don't have either of these, we can catch up on that. Okay. All right, so look at the rubric that I put in front of you. That's going to go along with the task cards that we briefly talked about earlier. And there's 4 categories that you can get points in. There's questions, creativity, problem solving, self-evaluation, where you're going to have to reflect on what you did, okay? So, come up here to this top column where it says excellent work. If your work is excellent, you will receive a 3 in that category. So if your questions were excellent, you're going to get a 3 out of 3. Move over to this box right here, and it'll tell you what you need to do to get an excellent. It says, generated excellent questions or successfully answered questions that showed complete understanding of the 3 types of questions. The responses went above and beyond and included details and evidence. So that's how you will get a 3 if you have excellent work. Well, let's say you just have good work. You have the possibility of receiving a 2. I'm right here on the rubric if you're not sure where I am. And it says generated good questions or successfully answered questions that showed a good level of understanding of the 3 types of questions. The responses were adequate, showed adequate details, and had some evidence. Okay? And then if you're over here and you receive a 1, that means you need a little bit of improvement. It says you generated questions and was really not able to write answers that showed understanding of the 3 types of questions, and you really didn't include enough details and evidence. And if you don't complete the assignment, you get a 0, okay? Creativity, and you want a 3, then you're going to have to design a project that went above and beyond the directions that showed creativity and originality. You know what I mean by originality? It kind of shows your own work, that you're creative, and you put some of your own you spice it up. If you wanted 2, under good work for creativity, designed a good project that met the requirements and showed some creativity and originality. A 1, designed a project that did not follow all directions and showed little creativity or originality. And a 0 if you did not complete. Move down to problem solving. When I'm talking about problem solving, I'm talking about how are you working? Are you working independently? So if you want a 3, worked independently to complete the task cards and was able to problem solve to finish the task successfully and was very prepared to share the information with the rest of the group. Because you're going to have to go take your information from your task card, go back and share it with your group. Okay? And then if you want good work under problem solving, worked independently to complete tasks but required guidance to finish the task successfully, was able to show somewhat prepared to share the information with the group. 1, struggled to work independently to complete the task card and had trouble problem solving ways to share the information. 0, was not able to work independently on task cards. Okay? Go down to self-evaluation. I actually have a little evaluation form that I will have you fill out. Okay? And that we may even not get to that till tomorrow. So excellent would be completed self-evaluation reflection, was able to recognize areas where learning took place and areas where help was needed. Okay? Good work for 2, completed self-evaluation reflection, was able to recognize some areas where learning took place but needed some guidance when self-evaluating. 1, had trouble with self-evaluation reflection, had trouble recognizing areas where learning took place and areas needing help. And then incomplete if you did not complete it. Any questions on the rubric? This is yours to keep. I want you don't have to do it right now, but put your name on it. I will collect these with your task card stuff, and I will grade using the rubric, and I'll give this back to you with your grade on it. You have a possible points of 3, 6, 9, 12 points. You have a possible to get 12 points total, okay, if you get a 3 in all the areas. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I need to explain how the task cards are going to work, but everybody's are a little bit different. So instead of standing here and telling everybody about the 3 sets of task cards, I'm going to have you go back with your group in just a second at the table you're sitting at. I'll come pass out your baggie. You will need a book and you will need the colored card. Don't do anything with it, but what you're going to do is leave these white papers. This is if we get finished activity, okay? So what you can do, one person can pull the task cards out, take a pair of scissors, cut them apart. Each of them are numbered. It says task card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Within your group, we talked about it a little bit, where numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, you have to decide who's going to do those in your group. Task card 1, 2, 3, and 4. On task card 5 and 6, everybody chooses one of those to do. But you have to finish your first, second, or third, fourth task card first. Okay? So I will come around and explain a little bit more about your task cards as you guys are going back, taking the task cards out, reading through them quietly, cutting them out, and handing them out into the appropriate place. What I would do, I would take task card 5 and 6 and put back in your baggie, because we're not going to use those right away, so they do not get lost. Okay? Okay, so guys, with this, here's your 6 task cards. You're going to divvy up 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you might want to, we only have one, I have another set of task cards, so if 2 people are doing one, I'll bring another one over, okay? 5 and 6, put back in your bag. You guys need, for all these task cards, you have to use your guided reading book, okay? That's what you're going to do your task cards on. Okay, so once you guys get them divvied out, read through them. If you have a question for me, just raise your hand and I'll come over, okay? I'll check back in. Are the salmon colored groups, and so for task card, for your task cards, you have a choice. You can use this book to complete with your task cards, or you can use your independent, your difficult, or your just right. So you have a choice. You don't have to use this book at all if you don't want to. You can decide individually what you want to do. So for task cards, Julia, for task cards 1, 2, 3, and 4, you have to use your guided reading book. But for task cards 5 and 6, you can use your independent book, your Just Right book, or your, but you can use the guided reading book if you just want to do that too. Okay? Alright, so I talked to each group I'm going to count from 10 to 0, and I want you in your perfect quiet spot. Any questions? Okay, Logan, what's your task?
Questions.
Interview another person in your group about the guided reading book. Design 2 within the text, 2 beyond the text, 2 about the text questions to ask. Write their answers out and present them to the group as if you are in newspaper reporter. Example, I have here now is blank, and I am interviewing them about the golden age of stamps.
Did you pick this task card because you were excited about writing the interview part like you're a newscaster, or did you just get stuck with it?
I got stuck with it because they all picked theirs, and then I got this, which I liked it because I like interview people.
Okay, I look forward to seeing this great interview where you're going to be a newspaper reporter. So, you have to design all 3 types of questions, don't you?
Maybe 2 within the text and 2 beyond the text. 11 above the text.
Can you give me your beyond the text? Give me an example of your beyond the text.
Do you think the end of the story was very realistic?
Do you think the end of the story was realistic? Why or why not? Why do you think that's categorized as a beyond the text question?
Because the saying sorry at the end is like unrealistic, or it is realistic.
It's eliciting your opinion.
Yeah, it's your opinion. Your opinion.
Okay, so we have to have some evidence for that. So what do you think? Do you think the end of the story was very realistic? You guys kind of just said no, right? Is that how come you came up with that question?
Yeah, because, I don't know, like, there's some point kind of, like, we were talking, and there were some reasons that it might be realistic, but then there's some reasons that wouldn't be realistic. So I'm kind of on the fence, but I think it will be.
Okay, all right. Just make sure you give me some good evidence why you think either way.
A bunch of books have more.
All right, and so what task card did you get?
I got task card 3, and I have to write as many about the text questions as I can, and I have to use my guided reading book and my question stems. And I write them in here.
Of the 3 types of questions, you chose the about text questions. Do you feel like those are easy questions to write?
Well, they're actually, well, yeah, pretty much if you have this.
Okay. If you didn't have this, eventually, do you think you'd be able to come up with your own?
Yeah, but it might take longer.
Okay, so what kind of things do about text questions have in them that within and beyond don't have as much?
Well, it doesn't have, it's not like, you can't find it right in the text. You have to, but you can find the evidence in the text, but it's not right there. So, and sometimes it's your opinion.
Sometimes it's your opinion. There's one other thing that I was thinking about the text questions, and that is they always kind of ask you those, why do you think the writer wrote the book, or those author type questions. So if you use those within your about the text questions, could you write your own then, knowing that if you included the writer or the author? Yes. Okay. All right. You found something?
It says, what was the most important part of the story and why? That could be a beyond the text question because it also could be your opinion.
Yes, some of them do overlap, I find, in about the text and beyond the text, they overlap a little bit. So that's a good thing to notice. Kendall, what's your task card?
Mine is pretty much the same as Amethyst, only I do beyond the text questions.
And how do you feel about beyond the text questions?
I think that they're probably my favorite question.
Why?
Because usually I like looking back in the book and finding evidence because it's kind of fun. So, and about the text questions, I feel like they're more about your opinion because a lot of the about the text questions are more like, how do you think the writer made you understand this? Or something about the writer most likely.
Yes, I agree with you. So, all right, so let's go back to our questions and our task cards. Hallie, what task card did you choose?
I chose task card 2. We kind of went order. Emma got the first one, I got the second one, Xander got the third one, and Kaden got the fourth. But we were all mixed up on our page, and now we're not 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so what do you have to do on your task card?
I have to write as many beyond the text questions as you can using your guided reading book and question stems in the thinking stems in your section of the Reading Life notebook, and write them in the reading response section of your notebook.
Okay, so how do you feel about beyond the text questions? What do you know about beyond the text questions?
They can have multiple answers, and they're like the harder answers, like you can like have more details in it, and the questions are more harder. You can't just like open your book and find it. You have to go to your room.
Okay, and how do you feel about that? Are you comfortable with doing those types of questions? Yes. Are you a good book detective? Are you good at going back and finding evidence of your answer to prove it? Yeah, okay, very good. And so what about you, Xander? What one did you get? What task card?
I got task card 3. It's basically the exact same thing, except for it's about the text.
About the text. And how do you feel about the text questions?
They're pretty easy, depending on if you read a few first, but if you don't if you don't practice, like if you don't read any before, and you just have someone just reads to you the definition of one, it's kind of hard to do it because you don't have an example of what it would be, so you didn't know if this would fit it or this would fit it, or if they both fit it,
And so when you think about the text question, what are some things about the text question that are different than within the text question?
a lot of them are like, what did the author do to make you believe in this?
Yes, your key word was author or writer. So whenever it asks you something about the author or writer, you automatically know it's an about the text question. And so are you going to be able to find evidence in your text to help you answer those questions? What else do they elicit, though? They elicit something about the writer or author, and sometimes they want something from you. Do you know what that is? Anybody help him here? What is they want? What is about and beyond text questions?
They want evidence on your information in the story.
Yes. Do
Like,
they? Yes.
it's like if you have a within question, it's either a yes or a no. But when you have an about the beyond, it's within and more evidence in the book.
Very good. So do they also want your opinion?
Yes.
Sometimes they want your opinion.
And they're both thick questions.
And they're both thick questions. Very
And
good.
more like within questions are within the questions. They kind of have it in. See, like if you cover up the W and the I, it has thick questions.
Very
It's
good.
within.
That you picked up on that.
I
That's
just
awesome. Yes. Okay. So we're going to. It is recess time, so we're going to pack up, but I want you guys to move back to your tables so I can talk to you really quickly before we go out. Okay, so everybody's had a chance to start on their task card. I went around and talked to each of you. Is everybody feeling comfortable with the task that they're working on? Okay, good. So I wanted to kind of tell you a little bit because what you're doing when you're answering these 3 types of questions and you're completing the task cards, you're trying to make sure, I'm trying to make sure that you understand the 3 types of questions, okay? That you feel comfortable with writing them, you can pick them out, you can make them, okay? What you're doing on your task cards, you are applying what I've taught you, and you're going to apply what I've taught you, you're going to examine the 3 types of questions, you're going to produce those 3 types of questions, and some of you even have to answer those 3 types of questions, okay? So you're analyzing the text. That's a higher level thinking skill. You guys are really good at analyzing your text because when I had conversations with you, you were digging deep, and you could even tell me the different things about a beyond the text question and an about the text question. A lot of you were able to say that when you're talking about an about the text question and a beyond, those elicit, the about ones want to know something about what does the author or the writer think, okay? For both of these, you have to give your opinion on a lot of those types of questions, okay? And you're doing a really good job about that. And So you guys are doing a great job. It's been a great start. We will continue to work on this when we come back, and we will work on it tomorrow and Friday. So, because I know a lot of you still need time to start on your 5 and 6. So any questions so far? All right, good job. You guys can line up for recess.